There is a particular kind of invisible tax levied on men who did not grow up being taught how clothes actually work. It is not collected at the border. It has no line item on a receipt. It is simply the premium you pay when you do not know the difference between a fused collar and a sewn one, between ring-spun cotton and open-end spun cotton, between a brand that earns its price and a brand that manufactures desire through repetition and placement. This tax is not small. Across a wardrobe built on uninformed purchases, it can run into the thousands of dollars annually. And in Canada, where retail markups are already amplified by duties, a thin dollar, and a retail real estate market that charges some of the highest occupancy costs on the continent, the uninformed man pays a premium that is genuinely staggering when you write it out on paper. This is not about aesthetics. A man can dress however he wants. This is about construction forensics. It is about understanding that certain brands have built entire business models around the gap between what a garment costs to produce and what a consumer can be convinced to pay for it, and that the gap is held open not by quality, but by advertising spend, celebrity adjacency, logo placement, and the specific psychology of the Canadian male consumer who has been told, repeatedly and from multiple directions, that these labels represent something worth aspiring to. They do not. Several of them represent the opposite. Here are 8 brands that are making Canadian men look clueless, not because of how the clothes look on the rack, but because of what is actually inside the seam. The first brand is Hugo Boss, which operates retail locations across Canada and maintains a strong presence in Canadian department stores, including Simons and Hudson's Bay. Hugo Boss has done something genuinely impressive from a marketing standpoint, which is to convince a large portion of the male population that it occupies a luxury or near luxury tier of menswear. It does not. The suit construction in the Boss main line, meaning not the Boss Black or the made-to-measure offerings, but the standard retail suit that most Canadian men encounter, uses a fully fused canvas. A fused canvas suit is a suit where the interlining that gives the jacket its shape is glued to the outer fabric using a heat-bonded adhesive. It is not floating. It is not half canvas. It is glued. Over time, with dry cleaning and humidity cycling, that glue separates from the outer fabric in a process called bubbling, and the chest of your jacket develops a topographical irregularity that cannot be pressed out. A genuinely constructed suit at the Boss price point of 900 to 1,500 Canadian dollars would have, at minimum, a half canvas chest piece, meaning a floating horsehair canvas that is hand padded to the outer fabric and drapes naturally against the body. Hugo Boss is charging you a luxury adjacent price for a construction that a mid-tier brand making honest claims about its product would sell for $350. The math is egregious. The brand is coasting on decades of aspirational positioning in men's magazines and airport retail, and the Canadian consumer is absorbing that coast at full price. The second brand is Ted Baker, which positions itself as British eccentric luxury and retails in Canada through its own storefronts and through department store concessions. Ted Baker's aesthetic is distinctive and the brand communication is sophisticated, The product underneath the marketing is substantially less impressive. Ted Baker dress shirts in Canada retail between $120 and $170. The fabric used in their standard shirting is predominantly a cotton polyester blend in the 80 to 100 thread count range. The collar construction is fused on the majority of their mainline models. Pattern matching at the seams, which is one of the most reliable indicators of construction care because it requires additional fabric and skilled cutting, is inconsistent across their line. For $150, a Canadian man should be receiving a pure cotton poplin shirt at 120 thread count minimum, with a soft or removable collar stay, single needle side seams, and a proper placket with a sewn-in rather than fused interlining. Ted Baker delivers none of these things reliably. It delivers a print, a quirky interior label, and a British inflected brand story. The shirt is secondary to the narrative, and the narrative costs more than the shirt deserves. The third brand is Michael Kors, and this one requires some additional context because the brand has undergone a specific kind of degradation that is worth understanding structurally. Michael Kors Holdings, now rebranded as Capri Holdings, also owns Versace and Jimmy Choo. The group has been under sustained financial pressure and has responded to that pressure in the way publicly traded fashion conglomerates reliably do, which is to reduce material and construction costs while maintaining retail price. Michael Kors menswear in Canada, specifically their jackets, outerwear, and casual wear, uses material specifications that are impossible to justify at their price points. A Michael Kors bomber jacket retailing at 350 Canadian dollars is routinely constructed from bonded leather, which is a layered material made from polyurethane film bonded to a backing of shredded leather fiber or fabric. It looks like leather in the store. It feels like leather in the store. Within 2 to 3 years of regular wear, the polyurethane surface layer begins to peel and delaminate in a manner that cannot be repaired. It is not a leather jacket with a limited lifespan. It is a non-leather jacket that was sold to you using the visual and tactile language of leather. That is not a construction compromise. That is a material misrepresentation dressed in a logo. The fourth brand is Ralph Lauren at the Polo sub-brand level. And this distinction matters because Ralph Lauren as a corporation spans a quality range from genuinely excellent at the purple label tier to deeply questionable at the Polo retail level that most Canadian men actually encounter. The Polo Ralph Lauren product, sold through Canadian department stores and the brand's own Canadian retail locations, uses a peak cotton on their polo shirts that runs between 180 and 200 GSM. The yarn in the majority of their Canadian retail polo shirts is combed cotton rather than ring-spun Supima or Pima. Combed cotton removes short fibers from the yarn, but does not achieve the strength or smoothness of a properly ring-spun long staple cotton. The result is a polo shirt that retails at 100 to 130 Canadian dollars and pills within a season of regular washing. The iconic pony logo is doing enormous price justification work on a garment whose material specification does not support the price. A man paying $120 for a polo shirt in Canada in 2026 should be receiving ring-spun Pima or Supima cotton at 200 to 220 GSM with a clean placket and genuine horn. Buttons. The Polo logo, the heritage marketing, and the brand's association with an aspirational lifestyle are the actual product. The Polo shirt is the delivery mechanism. The fifth brand is Coach, specifically their men's ready-to-wear and outerwear line, which has expanded aggressively into apparel beyond the leather goods category, where the brand built its reputation. Coach menswear in Canada is a case study in brand extension without product investment. A Coach men's jacket, retailing between 400 and 600 Canadian dollars in Canada, uses construction and material standards that a competent workwear brand achieves at 150. The brand is applying leather goods prestige, which is itself debatable in Coach's current production context, to a category where they have no genuine construction heritage. The consumer is paying for the interlocking C hardware on the zipper pull. Everything else is a commodity garment wearing a luxury costume. The sixth brand is Psycho Bunny, which has achieved a remarkable penetration of the Canadian golf and country club market and the broader Canadian premium casual space, despite offering a product that does not survive serious material scrutiny. Psycho Bunny polo shirts retail in Canada between $90 and $130 and are positioned as a premium alternative to Ralph Lauren with a more distinctive graphic identity. The peak cotton used runs at approximately 180 GSM in a construction that uses open-end spun yarn rather than ring spun. Open-end spinning is faster and cheaper than ring spinning and produces a yarn with shorter fiber alignment, lower tensile strength, and a coarser hand feel that degrades faster through washing. The brand's skull and bunny logo is genuinely distinctive, and the color execution is often excellent. The textile underneath the logo is a $100 commodity polo. The logo is the only premium thing about it, and you are paying $100 for a logo on a polo that costs $7 to produce. The seventh brand is Mackage, the Montreal-based outerwear brand that has positioned itself aggressively in the premium Canadian outerwear category, competing visually and demographically with Canada Goose. Mackage outerwear retails in Canada between $600 and $1,200 for their down-filled jackets and parkas. The downfill, used in the majority of their consumer-facing line, runs at 600 fill power, which is a functional and reasonable specification for a winter jacket. The comparison problem is with Canada Goose, whose expedition-grade products use 625 fill power Hutterite down, and whose shell fabrics are specified and tested for genuine extreme cold performance. Mackage is primarily a fashion outerwear brand that uses down-fill as a technical-sounding justification for a price point that is actually driven by the leather trim, the fur rough sourcing costs, and the brand's position in the Toronto and Montreal fashion market. You are buying a fashionable coat at a technical outerwear price. That transaction is not inherently wrong if you understand it. Most consumers do not understand it, and Mackage's marketing does not go out of its way to clarify the distinction. The eighth brand is Alo Yoga's men's line, which has expanded from its California athleisure origins into the Canadian market with a retail and wholesale presence that targets the premium active and lifestyle category. Alo's men's product in Canada retails at prices that are extraordinary relative to the material content being delivered. A pair of Aloe men's joggers retails at 140 to 180 Canadian dollars. The fabric used in their standard jogger is a polyester spandex blend, typically around 80 to 85% polyester and 15 to 20% elastane, woven at a weight of approximately 240 to 260 GSM. This is a commodity activewear fabric specification. The same weight, the same fiber content, and the same four-way stretch construction is used by brands retailing at $35 to $50 for the same garment category. What Aloe is selling is an aesthetic, a studio-to-street lifestyle positioning, a social media presence that has achieved extraordinary saturation among a specific demographic, and a retail experience that feels premium because the stores are beautiful. The joggers are petroleum-derived textile at a price that assumes you cannot read a fabric content label or compare GSM across competing products. The pattern across all 8 of these brands is consistent, and it is not accidental. Each of them has made a calculated decision to invest in brand perception rather than product specification, because brand perception scales and product specification costs money. Marketing a logo is cheaper than improving the thread count. A celebrity collaboration costs less per unit than upgrading from combed to ring-spun Supima cotton. A beautiful retail environment is more persuasive per dollar spent than a genuinely half-canvassed suit chest. These are rational business decisions from the perspective of a publicly traded company managing a gross margin. They are irrational purchase decisions from the perspective of a Canadian man standing in a fitting room holding a credit card. The correction is simple, and it costs nothing. Learn the specifications. Understand what GSM means for your fleece, what fill power means for your down, what canvas construction means for your suit, and what ring spun means for your polo. Once you can read a garment the way an engineer reads a blueprint, the brands that are robbing you become immediately visible. They are not hiding. They are betting that you will not look. Stop proving them right. The single most expensive thing a man can wear in Canada is ignorance. It has no label, no logo, and no return policy. Everything else is just fabric.